Greetings and thank you for participating in this webinar today. My name's Ralph Parkhurst and I'm the Head of Business Development for Emergency Warning Systems in Australia, and it's my privilege and honour to be your presenter today. So no matter where you're watching, wherever in the world you are, we welcome you. Just a reminder, I will be sending out certificates of participation for everyone that attends today's webinar. Please stay tuned, and at the end of the presentation I'll show you how to register for that. This webinar is brought to you by Emergency Warning Systems Australia in cooperation with the PCOO, the Presidential Communications Operations Office, to introduce Radio Alert, the latest advanced radio technology designed for disaster communications at the local LGU and barangay level. Radio Alert will extend national warnings and alert messages through radio broadcasting to local communities before, during and after any calamity. The Filipino people are recognised throughout the world as tough and resilient in the face of calamities. Situated in the Pacific Ring of Fire, the Philippines is highly vulnerable and exposed to natural disaster and faces increasing challenges from climate change and man-made threats. The risks to society are ever increasing. Insurgency and terrorism, crime, poverty, political unrest, overpopulation and so on. And as can be seen from the COVID-19 outbreak, threats to health are also increasing. Building resilience in the face of these dangers is a constant challenge. Resilience is a multifaceted pursuit comprising a multitude of elements: regulations, protocols, procedures, systems, training, drills, equipment and technology driven by dedicated staff constantly trying to find ways to improve the safety of the Filipino people. The Philippines faces many challenges when it comes to communications. A large, diverse population with a wide range of dialects and cultures, poverty, illiteracy levels, etc., with many remote regions across the country's 7,107 islands. Currently, the country relies on commercial TV and radio, telecommunications, and social media for communications with the public in general. These factors contribute to the United Nations World Ranking Index, which rates the Philippines only 2.6 out of 10 for communications. In this webinar conference, I'm going to examine disaster communication systems that are in place right now. And I'm going to ask the question, how can we improve communications, in particular at the local level to local communities? And in the process, I'm going to show the international community that the Philippines has the resolve to overcome whatever challenges are presented. So there are three questions we must ask to begin with. Are national alerts and warnings enough? Can LGUs effectively communicate with their local residents? And how do we improve communication at the local barangay level? Nationally, the country is in a ready state of alert with national macro warning systems through print media, text blasting, TV, commercial radio and internet. However, there is a gap when it comes to communicating with local residents, the local people, in the face of danger. Communities need reliable communications right down to the local level, delivering current, real-time emergency messages throughout the changing stages of a disastrous event. The question is, are warnings and alerts enough? No, not so, according to President Duterte and many other significant Filipino figures. President Duterte, during the post-disaster briefing at the quake-hit Batanes, said the government must have an independent communication system for calamities and other emergencies. He said he wants such a system for the Philippines and ordered authorities to use an independent communication system. Senator Loren Legarda in the Philippine Star, referring to all barangays, said, "Quick communication and real-time updates are vital in ensuring effective disaster response with first responders, and search and rescue teams ready for dispatch at any time. PhilVolt's director, Dr. Renato U. Salidum, Jr., on CNN Philippines said, "A nationwide emergency broadcast system to alert millions within minutes of a quake is a priority of the country's seismological agency." The Strategic National Action Plan, SNAP, 2009 to 2019, said, when communication facilities break down during a crisis, most LGUs do not have an alternate system to communicate warnings and to inform where and when to evacuate. The DILG Secretary, Eduardo M. Ano, says LGUs have the mandate to be the frontliners in responding to natural disasters in local communities. They are the most knowledgeable about their own locality and its terrain, resources, and people. They are best positioned to lead the people in preparing, anticipating, and mitigating the impact of disasters. So let's consider resilience planning. Local authority LGUs face an increasing task to ensure their community residents are protected, using reliable information from government sources. The voice of government needs to be heard more than ever before in contemporary times of crisis. In the absence of reliable and official information on social media and the grapevine, often fake news and rumours become the norm. How dangerous is that in the face of disaster or a terrorism event? And, as we have seen more recently, a major health crisis. When a calamity hits, most, if not all, communication systems fail within a very short time, initially from power failure or cell tower overload and terrestrial infrastructure damage. This often results in limited commercial radio or television reception and total breakdown of phone and internet services. Even government networks relying on cell-based and terrestrial infrastructure can be compromised by damage. Why? Because they are totally reliant on cellular and wire-based communication infrastructure. Right now, there are various ways you can alert citizens, but these are often just general, non-location specific alerts. With advanced radio technology, we now have the capability of reaching mass audiences instantly and at any time with official verbal messages, clear instructions, and advice. So, why is it important to go beyond national alerts and warnings and communicate widely, directly to local communities? Well, let's look at the three phases of a disaster: the preparation, the survival, and the recovery. It is normal human condition to listen but not really absorb warnings under normal circumstances. TV advertising, local notices and drills are seen and heard, but with very little recall. Why? Because there's no crisis pending at that time. That changes very quickly when faced with an impending disaster or threat. The preparation period, as soon as possible, is the best time when all ears are listening to remind the community members how to properly prepare when faced with a crisis and help is needed. For example, to help find a safe place at home to shelter during the event, where the evacuation centres are located, what is the local emergency phone number, what should I prepare in my go bag, flashlights, batteries, medical, personal, papers, etc., sufficient food and water for up to 72 hours, and how to protect valuables and documents in a safe, dry place, and so on. Just better preparation alone will contribute to saving more lives and reducing injuries. LGUs can pre-prepare standard messages ready to go before any disaster hits. During the survival stage, this is a dynamic environment that changes by the hour and sometimes even by the minute. As the event unfolds and things change, fires can act unpredictably. Trees can fall, power lines can go down, roads are flooded, storm surges, landslides give way with very little warning. A community communication system based on radio broadcasting will ensure effective communication throughout all 3 stages of any calamity. Recovery. Community communications can be used to help locate and reunite missing children and family members, advise where first aid and health services can be accessed, advice of government aid programs, where and how to seek help, emergency food and clothing relief. And can I say, after the event is often the time when the greatest criticism is levelled at governments and officials for how they handled that calamity. With advanced radio technology, we now have the capability of reaching mass audiences instantly and at any time, with official verbal messages, clear instructions and advice. So why radio? Of course, by radio I don't mean short-range two-way radio, I mean long-range radio broadcasting. The ITU is the International Telecommunications Union. They are a specialised agency of the United Nations, responsible for all matters dedicated and related to world communication technologies. The ITU advocates radio as the most effective means of communication in times of disaster. Have a look at this video.
Let's turn the clock back a few years to Katrina, that horrendous storm that struck New Orleans. It stopped nearly everything: power stations, internet services, mobile phones. But one service held up. There was one way people could be informed about what was happening. It was radio broadcasting. When there is a disaster, the authorities need to use every single means they can to tell the public what's happening and what they should do. Television, email, social media, amateur radio, satellite. Every service can help, but the service that is least likely to fail to get through is often radio broadcasting. At these times, mobile phone networks and internet are stretched and overloaded, and in fact, they're desperately needed by the emergency services themselves, who need priority access. No mains power in the home can mean no television and no satellite receiver. But radio is everywhere in the home and car. It's often working from a battery. It wins in terms of ease of use, reliability and cost. It never runs out, however many people tune in. It provides the maximum reach at the fastest possible speed. So radio should be the cornerstone of emergency services, whatever more sophisticated services are available as well. And radio can go further than just a voice. All radio systems, analog and digital, also have the potential to provide text as well as audio. In principle, radio could provide all kinds of written information about the disaster as well as audio. The text can help the hearing impaired. It's also possible to wake up the radio if it's switched off. But for this to happen, we need more sophisticated radios with small screens as normal and smartphones and tablets to be radio capable. Now, wouldn't that be something great? So, when we talk about radio in times of emergency and disaster, there's one word that describes its role, and that word is indispensable.
Now there is a new technology that will help address the communication gap. Radio alert technology completes the communication cycle from national alerts to local community broadcasts, direct to the people in the front line of danger. Radio Alert is a self-contained, failure-proof solution, specifically designed to provide reliable messages to citizens during disasters and emergencies. When other systems fail due to wind, rain or fire, Radio Alert is designed to be fully operational to allow authorities to communicate broadly with local communities easily and quickly. This latest advanced Radio Alert technology will provide local communities, emergency teams, government workers with reliable and effective local community communications. Radio Alert is radio-based, not cell or wired technology, which are prone to failure during a disaster. Radio can reach all listeners immediately with verbal messages and is not restricted to text characters. Marketing 101 tells us that voice is 6 to 7 times more impactful than just text alone. And Radio Alert provides many voices in many languages over radio. Radio Alert is ready to broadcast 24/7. A government-owned radio can overcome unreliable social media and false rumour. Imagine a situation where the city and municipal governments were able to broadcast daily or even more frequently to all homes, providing people with not only the right information and advice, but are also seen to be acting in the interests of all citizens. Radio Alert is incredibly convenient to operate. Press the button to correspond to any pre-recorded message you wish to broadcast.
This is an emergency warning message to residents of Luzon Province. A Category 4 typhoon is expected to make landfall within the next 12 hours. Use this time to prepare and keep your family safe. Secure your property and make sure you have sufficient drinking water, food, and any prescription medicines with you to last at least 72 hours. Monitor this radio station regularly for further updates.
Or broadcast your own message from the Radio Alert Connect software running on any desktop or laptop computer.
This is an emergency warning message to residents of Luzon Province. A Category 4 typhoon is expected to make landfall within the next 12 hours. Relief centres are located at Gabon Barangay Hall, San Miguel Barangay Hall, Caralangalan.
The Radio Alert system consists of SG80 specialised transmitters located in each city and municipality, specialised receivers installed in barangay halls and with barangay officials, and transmitter sites interconnected via Radio Alert Connect. Through Radio Alert Connect, multiple agencies can utilise the services of one LGU Radio Alert transmitter for police and crime prevention and control, public health agencies for health outbreaks, military to combat insurgency or terrorism, education services for training programs, tourism officers for the tourism safety net, or key LGU officials for official proclamations and announcements. So, what's the investment? Well, EWS Australia will contribute the Radio Alert broadcasting equipment to be installed in all cities and key municipalities that wish to participate in this program at no capital cost to the government. Only custom duties and VAT will be payable if applicable. For an investment of $2,000 per barangay for cities or $1,250 per barangay for municipalities. Each barangay will be supplied with specialised radio receivers for key officials. The individual requirements for each barangay and LGU can be tailored to suit your needs. Our vision moving forward will see every LGU across the nation enabled with its own community radio station to broadcast life-saving communications in times of disaster and emergency and help mitigate the consequences of calamities. All government agency buildings, schools, public places, commercial premises, etc. will have radio receivers installed and tuned to the emergency channel. Ultimately, we would lobby government to have emergency receivers included in the building code, similar to how smoke alarms are at the moment, providing instant emergency communications in every establishment, including new homes and apartments, and ensure that all LGU networks are fully redundant without reliance upon commercial networks and failure prone to terrestrial infrastructure. In closing, let's recap. Geographically, the Philippines will always be highly vulnerable and exposed to natural disasters. And with climate change and the challenges facing LGUs, this will only become greater. We can make an immediate impact on our resiliency and capacity to cope by improved communication at the LGU level. Radio Alert will extend national alerts to LGU-based local community communications before, during and after disasters. And Radio Alert products are of the highest quality and reliability, both musts when it comes to any crisis. Simply put, Radio Alert helps you build your disaster resilience by providing effective communication during natural and man-made disasters. Communications to local communities has become a must-have, not just nice to have in today's increasingly hazardous environment. The coronavirus is just the latest example. So thank you for being part of today's webinar, and I appreciate the time and your kind attention. Please leave your feedback in the survey which will be displayed on your screen in a few moments so we can send you your certificate of participation. Kindly check yes if you would like a no obligation assessment of the needs of your province to have its own local communication system. We will scope the construct for your province and tailor a proposal for you. We can then follow up with a local presentation to discuss budgets, estimates and develop a formal proposal. Our Radio Alert can become your ultimate disaster communication system. Thank you. If you have any further questions or comments, please feel free to contact Kevin Ryan, your local EWS representative.